Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Charitable Home Care. Thank you for joining us. We get so excited to be able to share with you really wonderful events that are now taking place in our area again. One of those is a play that's coming up. It's called 110 Stories. We've got with us one of the many actors in the program, Doug Holloway, who is both an actor and very involved with the theater. So, Doug, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Keith.
Absolutely. Sitting with him is Hope Degg, who is also one of the actresses with 110 Stories. And so let's just talk a little bit about how this came to be, Doug, and the excitement that we're able to put on a production.
Well, sure. I mean, the play was actually supposed to be done last year. For
right.
the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Right.
And because of COVID, a couple of our cast members got COVID, and also because of Ida, it just didn't happen.
Right.
But we really felt that this was a message that we needed to, to share with the community, because the play just has such a tremendous message for us. I mean, the playwright interviewed real people. We're playing not characters, but real people that she had interviewed. And it amazes me the people that she interviewed, as far as people that you wouldn't even think about, like the homeless people, or individuals who had their dogs there who were used to find the bodies, okay? And nurses, massage therapists, the iron workers, of course there's policemen, firemen,
right.
and people that were inside the buildings, the North Tower and the South Tower. So the message that comes across is something that gives you a totally different perspective on what was going on at that time.
Wow. And so this is something that, it's really interesting how we see movies very often, and they talk about how it's been so many years in the formation of this. So since Sarah Tuft had written this and done these interviews, and again, this is as real as it gets. These are real people. But it took a while to come to fruition. And then we experienced that through the theater, like everybody else does, COVID and COVID's impacts personally. It's interesting.
Right.
It wasn't just about COVID, but it was COVID's impacts to a lot of the people that were in the cast.
No, absolutely.
And then Ida, who was very, very mean, we've decided, mean old woman, and so has dealt with that. So Hope, let's talk a little bit about you, both of you seasoned actors and actresses in doing this. What was it that was appealing about this for you?
I think it was the fact that it is real people, like Doug was saying. You're not playing a character. You're telling a story. And the director, Stephanie Kinney Gomez, so she told us all from the beginning, tell the story. And when I looked up Susan Fliss, who's the character, the nurse that I play, she's not a character.
Right.
And I think the main thing was just seeing how real it was. I mean, it's different when you play a character as when you're actually playing a real person.
Right. And so it's interesting, we keep using the R word, real. There's a certain realism, but there's a certain reality to representing someone who's very real.
Yeah.
And so it really brings that home. It's like it's hard to think about the story without being a little bit emotional. Because I will tell you, we all knew exactly where we were at that moment. As one of the firemen in our area discussed about something they're going to do at the event, at the exact moment that the tower fell, the first tower fell, they begin reading the names of those people. And these are stories about real people who survived that traumatic event, and just bringing that to life is just really, really nice. I want to let people know how they can still get tickets, because this is exciting. So Jen, put the flyer up if you don't mind. And Doug, we're doing this in a different place because of some other events and impacts.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been going through a renovation process at Le Petit Theater for quite some time, and it seems like it's going to be finishing up in November. So we should be opening up with a show in November there.
Right.
But in the meantime, for this show, we're going to be holding it at Dumas Auditorium.
Right.
On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Right.
Those dates on the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Yes, sir.
And again, right there you saw tickets are available at the box office, 985-876-4278. and again through the Bayou Regional Arts Council. And so you can kind of look into that. Just hope, if you would, just some final thoughts on this particular segment about what it's like to do this and how excited you are about it.
Oh, I'm extremely excited. I mean, it's an amazing play. It really is. It's amazing. The thing that gets me the most is you know, I'm sitting on stage and I'm listening to everybody else's stories. Doug, who has 4. But no, I mean, it's amazing, and it's incredible because a lot of the actors in this play have more than one role.
Right.
So to see them switch up and then to tell the story so genuinely, it's amazing.
Wow, to be able to become those different people. Yeah. And so, Doug, we know what it's like for actors. We who have been able to do this, some know what it's like, but this has got to be a little different. You've kind of got to change hats several times, if you will.
Oh, yeah, I play 4 different characters. I play Thomas, who's a homeless man.
Okay.
And then I play Carrie Shea, who works in the North Tower itself and is one of those people who was able to get out.
Okay.
And then I play Mitchell Parrots, who's a chiropractor body worker.
Okay.
And I play Glenn Jenks, who's from Texas, who came there to run a mobile phone bank. And they all have different accents and they all have different voices. But to get into that character, into each person is a challenge, but also I feel very rewarded by it.
Well, Doug, we can't wait to go see you be 4 different people. Additional members of the cast that are taking place with La Petite After Dark, 110 Stories by Sarah Tuff. We welcome Karen Schilling into the show, who is the narrator. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And, of course, we have Michael Groh, who is doing 2 different roles, who's going to be Dr. Jim Snyder and Paul Adams.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
So, Karen, tell us a little bit about, I know you and I get to talk quite a bit as friends, but how excited you are to be able to be the narrator of this particular show.
Well, first of all, just love the stories, and as our other cast members said, there's so much dynamic stuff going on in these characters and these people's lives that it's an honor to be able to be amongst the cast that we're with, but also to be talking and delivering the message that those people, what the people experienced. I like drama in theater. Our membership loves comedy, but I really feel like we do a disservice when we don't stretch people's comfort zones. And this show, I think, does stretch comfort zones. It's not a sad play. It's something that's very humbling and it brings you to a lot of humility to it. But it's about humanity and about hope. And I think our area in particular, because of the devastation that we've had with Ida, it gives us a strong message that we're all in this together and we will get through it.
And it's really interesting that this story took some time to tell. The story took some time to research, as I'm sure Sarah spent time doing that, as Doug mentioned with the interviews. But I think it's, as God would have it, that we see this right at a year after the most destructive issue to have hit our area, and clearly one of the most to ever happen to our country in New York, and that we have a little time to recover, to be able to see and appreciate this, And so, Michael, one of those things, I talked about how we could add the years of theater that y'all are providing in this play with the actors and the directors and everybody so involved with it. So, Michael, your input with your 2 characters and what that's been for you, like they mentioned earlier, telling the story of some real people.
It's interesting. I mean, you don't ever get to do this in theater. It's always playing a character, playing someone made up, but this being real people is truly humbling. And I mean, like you said earlier, we all know where we were. So to be able to connect to a couple of people that survived is really very powerful.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably the word, maybe, that embraces everything is powerful. And being able to relay this message. And to me, the best way to really be entertained is for someone to be able to do storytelling. I think we can remember older generations when we were a kid sitting around listening to stories. And this is such a great story to tell. And so really excited about that. Jen, put the flyer back up. I want people to know how to do that. Even at the last minute, you can still get these tickets available here. Again, it's La Petite After Dark, presenting 110 Stories by Sarah Tuft. Tickets on sale now. The box office, you can call 985-876-4278. Taking place at the Dumas Auditorium, not at the theater. And so it's really interesting that for most of us, when we think theater here in our town, we think La Petite. But y'all talked about getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. All of these actors and actresses are talking about being out of their comfort zone, playing real people, telling real stories. Out of your comfort zone a little bit at Dumas Auditorium, but in a good way, to be able to connect with that. Let's talk about that.
We have been so fortunate at the theater to have such great partnerships with Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. We've had this wonderful relationship with the parish since 1961 to have the space at the old City Hall, the People's Bank, and to have the privilege and the honor of being able to renovate it and to be in such a wonderful partnership with all the people that made this happen. We've all missed live theater. This is the first production that we've been able to get going, in a couple of years. Right. And so I think, doing this and rehearsing in alternate places and doing things a little bit different. We've only had a half a tech rehearsal, but being experienced like we all are, right. We know we'll be there till midnight tonight. Stephanie will make sure that we get it right.
Right.
It definitely, has stretched our comfort zones. I play the narrator, and the narrator is the author of the play, is the playwright Sarah Tuft. And when we had the opportunity to sit and talk with her last week, it just brought real, and it brought connection and hope and humility, as I've said. It brought all those things, that this is not just a play. This is a story about how people connected and they bonded together to help out in one of the most scary times in our lives.
And it's about heroism as well, right? And so I know y'all feel really honored about that as we wrap up. So, Michael, just some final thoughts about the character.
The character, Paul Adams, he's this, it's a drama, but he does have some funny moments. And some real, you can see my, comedic timing at its best, right?
Right.
But that's what's really good, is that yes, these are serious stories, but they're, like she said, stories of hope. And there are soft, lighthearted moments to say, these people, they were dealing with a lot more than what anyone should have to deal with. But we find the humor and we find the light at the end of the tunnel.
We find the hope and the joy, and we want you to find your place into the seat. Again, one last time, Jen, if you don't mind, still get tickets. La Petite After Dark presents 110 Stories by Sarah Tuft. Call the box office, 985-876-4278, Dumas Auditorium, September 9th, 10th, and 11th. Thank you so very much, Michael, Karen. We appreciate it. All right, guys, that will do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more HTV when we continue.